Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Deborah. I am a retired marriage and family therapy professor. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a minister of the Christian faith. I am a inclusion and diversity practitioner, researcher, and consultant. For the next several series, I'm going to share with you what I'm calling the How to Love series. And I'm beginning this talk with race and racism. How to love in the climate that we're living in now as it relates to race and racism. Now, it would take way more time than what I intend to spend on the idea of race to just fully explicate what that means. But let me just say this and invite you to do your own research regarding it. Race, as we know it, is a divisive term that was constructed, created to privilege one group over another group or all other groups. In other words, race is, there is only one race, and you've heard many people say that there's only one race, and that's the human race. There are no biological differences between any kind of people, no matter what they look like, their eyes, their hair, their skin tone, color, none of that. Underneath the skin is the same kind of blood, heart, liver, spleen, everything else under the skin is the same. Everything above the skin can be explained by environment. And you know this yourself. If you are a person of color, in the wintertime, if you paid attention to the difference in your skin, you are lighter than you are in the summertime because it's summer. For people who are fairer or who call themselves white, in the wintertime, they may be paler. In the summertime, if their pigmentation would allow them, they may be able to get a tan. But all of that changes when the sun changes and the clouds change. That's a matter of climate. And over history, wherever they live, their bodies adjusted to that. So race, as we know it, or as we think of it, is a lie. That's bottom line. It's a lie. Biologically, neurologically, physiologically, there are no differences in us. Capacity, intellectual capacity, anything, all of that is a matter of environment, and environment includes opportunity, it includes lack of opportunities. All of that influences how we are able to do what we do. So having said all of that, then racism is a byproduct of the idea that there exist different kinds of people, and which made it possible, or it was designed with the intent to disenfranchise some people, and namely people of color, and namely people in America and across the world who are African or African descent. So that's race and that's racism. Even though we know that race is a social construction, somebody made it up, created it. If you do your history, there is a point in time when white people started to call themselves white. Before, they were just Christian or infidel, Christian or not. So let's make that very clear. Now, we're living in a time where we're having to defend ourselves, and that has been going on ever since Africans came to this continent, were brought over. Uh, I should clarify that. Africans were brought to this continent as slaves because Africans came to this land before Columbus. Look that up. So we were here before Columbus stumbled upon this place he thought was India and called the people who lived here Indians. Again, given, so do you see where this is going? If you do the work and do the research, you will find that all of this is just a lie. And I don't even want to start to make up something, my idea about how is it that the people with less pigmentation who call themselves white would decide that they wanted to pillage the world. That's Ta-Nehisi Coates. Loves that word. To just take things from people and kill people for those things. That's the history. I am not making that up. I'm not an angry black woman saying that. That is what happened. And that's what continues to happen. But I'm even with all of that and the emphasis that I'm placing on the things that I'm saying, there is a way to deal with what's happening to us that does not require anything but a change in how we treat each other. And that's from the top to the bottom. If there's a such thing as a bottom, if there's a such thing as a top, there is a way. And I'm calling it the How to Love way. And quite honestly, I am inviting this Christian, and I put that in quote. Well, no, I don't have to put it in quotes. And let me back up and say why I don't have to put that in quotes. Because Christianity is made up too. Because the person by whom or from whom that this tradition of knowing God came into being was called the Christ or the Anointed One. And that person, who most likely is a man of color, let me just say that, was not trying to start a religion. He, as a matter of fact, he's been his whole 3 years of ministry fighting the religious establishment. With that in mind, I'm using that person. And I think Nika said, who is that black dude? Looked like a troublemaker to me. Nika Giovanni, quoting her from one of her poems. But so that's not what he was trying to do. He was trying to start a revolution, but not the one that ended up being used to oppress people around the world. So as you hear me say these things, do your own homework, and do a good job, because if you listen to the colonizers, the slavers, you will get a different story than if you listen to somebody who's been oppressed and who's of African descent, or who's of color, or who's about truth. Because that doesn't mean that all the colonizers are liars and all the Africans and brown people are saviors, but it does mean we have a history of our relationships with people who call themselves white has not been positive around the world, mostly, by and large. And I'd have to acknowledge some of those same people that call themselves Christians, and that's why I backed up on that Christian comment I made earlier, because they were not being the kinds of people that they purported to be. Racism, race, social constructions, but there is a way. There is a way that we can do this, and How to Love is that way. So as I continue this, I want to explicate, I want to make sense of how my proposal can be one piece of the puzzle of changing how we relate to each other around these ideas of race and racism, but more importantly, how we relate to each other as, let's say, as humankind.